hope you enjoyed this episode of Dentistry Uncensored. Wanted to let you know that after 15 years of having the Annual Townie Meeting in Vegas, we have signed up. The next 2 years are going to be in Orlando. We have exclusive registration opening pricing available June 1st to June 30th. Visit towniemeeting.com/Orlando to learn more and register today.
Good evening. Welcome to Late Night with Howard Farran. He graduated from dental school 30 years ago. 11 years later, he bet his life savings on a website that would allow dentists to talk to each other for free. His Uncensored podcast has more than 2 million downloads on iTunes. Ladies and gentlemen, here's Dr. Howard Farran.
Tommy started playing that song from Prince, and gosh darn, I forgot my Vicodin. I was, sorry, Tom, that was a bummer. Hey, it's an honor to be here. I feel like it's friends and family, Sandy, Purdue, the list goes on and on. How was Townie this time? And we've done it 15 years in a row, and we thought, why not? We think we're going to try it in Orlando. We signed Orlando up for the next 2 years, and the reason our thinking is number one, on the east of the Mississippi River, 3 out of 4 Americans live. So only 1 in 4 live out here. And I'm 54. Our generation thinks of Vegas as a rat pack, like Sammy Davis Jr. and Frank Sinatra and all these guys in Vegas with martinis and hookers and gambling and all that stuff. And the millennials are all into like yogurt and all this stuff. And so we thought we'll go to Orlando and try some conservative stuff. Thank you so much for buying my book. Thanks for the, how many people have read my book? You bought 50. Thank you, Sandy. You're always 50 books. And she's from Louisiana and can't read. I mean, think of that. That is amazing. How ironic. But that was, and I wrote that for my first grandchild, Taylor. And I just had my second one, Gunnar, was born last week. And yeah, the whole deal with the book is that I realized when my granddaughter was born that my dad and both grandfathers died at 60. And I was looking at little Taylor and thought, hell, if genetics has anything to do with that, when she's 10, I'll be dead. And so I laid down every column I'd ever written since 1994, and I took out all the root canals, fillings, and crowns and all that stuff, because I didn't know what business Taylor would be. I didn't know she'd be a dentist. I didn't know she'd own a restaurant. I assume she'll be a stripper like her mother, but I don't really know. And so it was actually a love story to Taylor. It's like, and I know the business of writing is make it short. So the secret to writing is rewriting. So I wrote that book. The first round, it was like 600 pages. The second round, I got it down to 400. And the third round, I got it down to 275. And I think it has 57 5-star reviews on Amazon. So I'm really proud of that. And then here's the thing I started. I needed a podcast section on Dental Town. So I started podcasting just because, like in 1998, I did a first post. Now we have 250,000 dentists posting. And then I started the first blog. Now we have thousands of dentists blogging. And I needed a podcast section, so I started a podcast 2 years ago. Little would I know, I've done it every day for 2 years. I've done 700 of them. Sandy was one of my earliest guests. You need to come back on the show. I saw you taping out there. What's the name of your podcast?
Dental Drill Bits.
And is it on the Dental Town? But is it? Yeah, so I started that section because what it was is you're driving to work. So you go to the Dental Town app, and then you go to this 3 section here, and then there's the podcast. And I think it's a total success because, I'm into user-generated content. I did the first one. Now I got 20 dentist podcasts. But look at the views on that one. How to open a dental office. How many views are on that?
672,844.
He's a big deal. He's not as big as Sandy Purdue. But anyway, I just think it's amazing that there's 250,000 dentists on Dental Town. And Jamie Amos starts a podcast and has 672,000 views. And so now you have a podcast on there. What is your podcast called?
Yeah, the Dental Marketing Guy Show.
There he goes. So here's the Dental Marketing Guy podcast. And you've put up 14 shows. Thank you very, very much. So any other podcasters here? Tell them about your podcast.
It's called Fast Track to High Performance.
And where's it on iTunes?
Yes, it's on iTunes.
And how many shows do you have?
42.
Nice. Emily Latron, did I say that right? Stand up, Emily, and take a bow. This is the American success story. From growing up in Vietnam during not so good times. When you grew up in Vietnam, was that the best of Vietnam times?
It was in the late 60s during the Vietnam War.
Yeah. And made it all the way to America and is a legend. And I'm so proud of you. You are the American dream.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. When you read her story, and I have read her book, what's the name of your book and where can they buy it? From refugee to Renaissance woman. And it's an eye-opening story. But what was neat is when I started a podcast, I realized the only core competency I had was I have all these friends on Dentaltown that I could get come on the show. And from all you fine people. And so I did 1, did 2, did 3. When did we do our show, Steve? When did we do our podcast?
When was it, like 6 months ago?
Was it 6 months ago? And then YouTube blocked it. They took it down. And they said, that is just can't be legal. And we grew up in Wichita, went to UMKC Dental School. We've known each other for 30 years. And we've gotten in more trouble than anyone could even write a book. We should write a book about all the trouble that we've been in. And but the bottom line is it was the law of unintended consequences. I didn't realize. I mean, imagine that my 30-year class reunion was last Friday. And I was so excited to go. It was going to be so fun. And then Thursday night, my grandson was born, so I missed that out. But I can't believe I've been out 30 years. But imagine you played piano for 30 years. And then out of nowhere, you decided you were going to have the greatest piano teacher you could find every day for a one-on-one piano lesson. That's what I feel the podcast has been. So every day, it's not lecturing to people, it's just one-on-one. I'm just asking them what I don't know or what I don't understand. I mean, it has been amazing. I mean, from Gordon, this guy, Next Level Endo, he put an online CE course on Dentaltown that's 19 hours long. Just amazing. That's the guy who wrote Pathways to the Pulp by Stephen Cohen. That's the #1 selling endodontic textbook of all time. To Christian Coachman out of Brazil. There are 32 dentists alive in his family tree right now. I mean, can anybody say that? I mean, I've been to his home in Rio. New sinus lifts technique. Carl Misch, that thing on YouTube, he went 2.5 hours long. That was the most epic I did because, talk about politically incorrect, he was on his deathbed. Do you know how no holds barred people are when they know that they'll be dead tomorrow, the next day? I mean, he told me at the time that he didn't think he'd be alive for a week, and he talked like he was going to be shot at the end of the show. And it was just amazing to hear a legend like that talking on his deathbed. There's a guy that invented All-on-4 out of Portugal. Peter Dawson, #1 selling textbook on occlusion. Taiwan. There's Australia. I mean, just amazing. And a lot of these guys have done online. Where's Howard Goldstein? Howard, thank you so much for what you've done with online CE. I mean, it is true. I mean, there's so many dentists that they're always whining about their student loans. It's like, they're $350,000 in student loans. Like, cry me a river. That's my first divorce was $3.8 million. And you're whining about $350,000. But for them to learn anything, they got to fly across the country in a $500 plane fare, and for the cab fare from the airport to the hotel is how much an online CE course says. They average like $18, $36. But dentists are, they're always worrying about their student loans, but they got to go drop $3,500 a weekend to go learn anything. And then they come back and I'll say, okay, you spent $3,500 on an occlusion course. Where are your notes? Like one page. CR, canine guidance, eliminate prematurities. I'm like, dude, You could have done a Google search on YouTube and learned that in 4 minutes, but they always have to pay the big bucks. And what I love about Dentaltown is for the price of any weekend course anywhere in dentistry, you could take all 350 online CE courses on Dentaltown and learn everything. So just learn to be smart. I mean, look at this CE series, 19 hours long on endo. 19 hours long by Martin Trope, Next Level Endo. That is the ultimate course. It is, Sandy. You're keeping it real from Louisiana. Yeah. No, it's an amazing course. I also love your course on embezzlement. And you wrote that course after you found out your daughter had been embezzling from you for years. And first you had to stop her drinking. And then you got her to stop stealing, and I love that whole course. It was such a family affair. Jay Resnick, orthodontist. This is amazing. We have 9 specialists, and the orthodontists wouldn't post on Dentaltown because they refuse to let you learn anything. So I had to fill all of our ortho curriculum with orthodontists not for America. Like the Canadian, he's Canadian. Or Sydney, Australia. Nobody from America, the orthodontists from America say, well, if the orthodontists see me helping a general dentist, they'll never talk to me again. I'm like, oh, that's nice. That's nice. I mean, when you look in the mirror, what do you see, a piece of shit? I mean, the patient comes first, not your turf, not your ego. I call dentistry, they need to learn the remote control. Have you ever noticed that anytime you've been over to anyone's house, there's a remote control? Nobody knows how to work it. Because the remote control, when they meet, the people from TV want all their buttons on, and the people from cable want their buttons on, the people from the DVR want everybody wants their cable buttons on, and now you got a remote with 864 buttons, and no one knows how to use it. Very few companies like Apple or Google say, no, the customer's first. And the customer doesn't want more than 4 buttons, up, down, left, right, stop, on. I mean, what the shit do you need 80 buttons for? And that's orthodontist. It's not about the patient. It's not about what's best for the patient. It's about what's best for orthodontists. Like these young specialists, I don't even know why they set up their own office. I mean, the research is clear that when the physician sees grandpa, he says, okay, I need you to go to an internist and get your diabetes checked. I need you to go to a cardiologist and get an echogram of your deal, and gives them 3 referrals. 1/3 of grandpas, as they walk out the door, just throw the referrals on the ground. Because it's beyond anybody to think, maybe grandpa should have one-stop shopping. I mean, if I was a specialist, I just got out of school, does the patient want to hear, oh, you need to go to an endodontist on the other side of town? I mean, if I was an endodontist, I'd get out of school, I'd find the biggest 5 badass general dentists in town and say, I don't even want to build an office. I got $350,000 student loans. I'm going to come in and be your endodontist on Monday, yours on Tuesday, yours on Wednesday. We'll split it 50-50. I'll have no land, building, staff, no overhead, but more importantly, when the doctor says, you need a root canal and we can do it right here, we'll do it on Monday. I mean, we need the patient first, the customer first. And right now in dentistry, it's all about the 9 specialties. When you go into the physicians, it's all about the 58 specialties. And everybody's so busy protecting their turf, the patient's the one that's an afterthought. And you see that in orthodontics. We just got the best online CE ever. This guy is, I went to Creighton with him in Swanson Hall. This guy is unbelievable. His brother just passed away, Joe Dovkin. He was one of the greatest endodontists of all time. This guy does all day long course on what all lawsuits are about. I think John has seen almost every lawsuit that's been filed in the United States in dentistry in the last 10 years. Truly amazing stuff. So it just goes on, silver diamine, fluoride. There's so many new paradigms, but I think this is why you're listening to me. I've had the same message forever, but what happened is this 2005. So right here, 2005, your income peaked. Your income peaked at $218,000, $219,378. And it's been dropping $3,800 a year for a decade. And you know what? As it was going up and up and up, they were just saying, oh, Howard's an idiot. He's just some short, fat, bald, dumb guy. He don't know. And then the trends reverse. And then it keeps going down, $3,800 a year. Every time the earth goes around the sun, you make $4,000 a year less. And now you're starting to say, what did he say? What's going on? And the bottom line nutshell is this. Here's, if I could sum up everything that's wrong with dentistry in 1 second, it's simply this. You go to 7-Eleven or Circle K, and they buy this for 80 cents, and they sell it for $1. Here's dentistry. I don't even know what this cost, and I've signed up for 18 different PPO plans. I do an MOD composite anywhere from $90 to $220. I don't know what it costs me, and I sell it for 18 different prices. And the problem is very simple. Dentrix sells, Henry Schein sells Dentrix, and it's not hooked up to an accounting software. So your staff, all your bills, your rent, your mortgage, your equipment, your labor, clock it in and out, all that's on Quicken. And then all your patient informations and schedules on Dentrix or EagleSoft. They're not connected. And I have flown my fat ass to Melville, New York, and told Stan Bergman and screamed at him and yelled and used profanity. And he doesn't care. And then I flew to Effingham, where they make EagleSoft. You know where Effingham is? In the middle of effing nowhere. And I told this asshole what's going on. And then every time they come out with an update, it's like, well, now you can change the color and the font of the notes. I mean, to go to when people say that Dentrix is awesome, I mean, you're either Stevie Wonder or Ray Charles. I mean, if you think Dentrix and EagleSoft is good, you're not smart enough to know how dumb you are. I mean, really, you're just raising your hand saying, if you think Neanderthal and Cro-Magnon were dumb, meet me. Meet me. I sell shit that I don't even know what it cost. And you're losing $4,000 a year. And then we go into your office and we start analyzing this stuff. We say, well, if you drop these 4 PPO plans, I mean, come on, how could you be doing an MOD composite for 105 all the way up to 220? I mean, when you were doing it at 220, if you thought you were at 50% overhead, that would be 110. You'd still know the one at 95 was a loss. I mean, you would just say, do you not know that you're doing shit at a loss? And usually these offices, you just get them to quit doing this shit at a loss, and their sales will go down from like 800,000 to 600,000, but their net will go from like 145 to 185. And then the bozo calls you up and says, I don't feel good about this, because tomorrow I have like a 2-hour opening. I have an opening. I said, oh, so you'd rather have it filled to doing dentistry at a loss? Why don't you be a woman? When they want to lose money, they go shopping, not do free dentistry for Blue Cross and Blue Shield. Go to the mall, buy socks and underwear that you don't need. Just don't do free dentistry for a loss. So I'm switching next month to Open Dental, and I'm jaded about that because I'm doing it because I think that maybe Jordan and Nathan Sparks one day will connect to Quicken. Do you think they will?
Well, either that or get something like Practice by Numbers that has QuickBooks is in like Practice by Numbers, and it can pull out, it can do what you've been wanting things to happen for years. You've been saying it.
Yeah. Well, I hope that Practice by Numbers, where's that guy? Right there. Oh, you're sitting by him. You just paid her to say that, didn't you? You did, didn't you? I saw the 20 under the table. And so the bottom line, and then everybody's telling you, okay, so get this to your head. Look at this chart. So you're going down $4,000 a year. So that means everything you're hearing, all the noise, is the wrong way. Because, here's how a dentist thinks. And by the way, talk about Dentistry Uncensored. I'm the only guy that owns a magazine. Every other magazine, they say, we'll buy an ad if you print this propaganda puff piece. I don't play that game. My companies buy an ad, and then I badmouth them all day long. On my podcast, on my lecture. Like right now, like 3M has bought a booth out there. They're our largest advertiser, so I'm going to start my seminar with throwing them under a bus. So here's how a dentist thinks. I've been using 3M Emperor Gum for 30 years. And in a Sightless Premier triple tray, that costs me $17. But you can buy a true definition scanner, oral scanner, for $17,000. I don't know, $17 Emperor Gum, send it to the lab, he mills out a crown for $99 and sends it back, or a $17,000 intraoral scanner. I know what you're thinking. Well, the $17,000 scanner has to be cheaper because it costs more. I mean, I swear to God, you'd screw up a wet dream. Here's your CAD/CAM dream. Okay, my assistants never made a crown. My lab man's made $10,000. I know what I'll do. I'll buy a $150,000 CEREC machine and have my assistant who's never made a crown make all my crowns. I mean, that's a good idea, isn't it? I mean, why would I want to use some asshole bench monkey that's made 10,000 crowns when I have a dental assistant who's never made a crown? That's a good idea. I mean, you can't make the shit up that you decide. I mean, you just can't. I mean, it just gets worse. I mean, here's your implant deal. Okay, I've never placed an implant in my life, so I'll buy a $100,000 CBCT. You know what a $100,000 CBCT is? How would you? What was your first cell phone? A Motorola?
I remember it was through Sprint. Nokia. I don't know. Nokia.
Nokia out of Finland. Could you imagine if you would have bought a $100,000 Nokia and then kept that cell phone for life? How would that cell phone be looking right now? I mean, the only thing you want to do with a cell phone and a CBCT is throw it away every 5 years. Because in 5 years, the new CBCT will make the old one look like a Nokia flip phone. It'll actually look like a Motorola pager. So you'll go buy a $100,000 CBCT that'll probably be outdated and extinct before they get it installed. And then you're going to buy an implant system. Then you're going to go to, I don't know, Dominican Republic with Arun Garg and spend another $50,000. You now dug yourself $200,000 into a hole, and you haven't even placed one. And then here's somebody who doesn't want to lose money, says, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go into a market next door where some periodontist oral surgeon's not getting any money, and I'm going to have him come into my office one day a month, and he's going to place all my implants, and I'll split it with him 50-50. I have not $1 invested in this shit. He's already placed several thousand. He's better than me, and he'll come in and place 10 a month, and I'll make $5,000. And that'll increase my return on asset, my return on equity. And dentists say, no, I'm going to lose $250,000. And then you come back 5 years later, he hasn't even dug himself out of his implant hole. I mean, every time you have an idea, it's wrong. In fact, what you should do is just screw the morning huddle. I want all morning huddles stopped. I do. I think they're a bad idea. What I want is a chalkboard. And I want you to come in every morning and say, hey, team, this was my best idea. And then write it down. And then say, please, don't let me do this. This is my best idea. We lose more money every year. Every time I think, I lose more money. Dentists are one of the few businessmen in the world where if you dropped them on their head, they'd make more money. So, I mean, you're going down. You're going down, and everybody that you listen to makes money selling you shit to go down. And then some guy's going to come tell you that it ain't so. And they always tell you what you want to hear. It's almost like practice management is some self-help kumbaya deal. You know, just tell me what you want to believe, and we'll all sing kumbaya until we go bankrupt and believe it together. So, like, let me tell you some facts. Okay, first of all, it's a general dentist making $175. The endodontists are making $325. And you know why? Because millennials come out of school and they say, well, you know, I don't like blood. Hey, dumbass, you became a doctor. Where on your medical education did you not find out that monkeys were filled with blood? You say, well, I just don't like blood and guts. Yeah, that's called an engineer. How did you end up a doctor and you tell me you don't like human shit? Well, I don't like blood and guts. I don't like anything bloody. Yeah, well, you should be working at Intel or a programmer. You always want to do this white fluffy stuff, like you want to learn like sleep apnea or do veneers. You know how hard it is to sell a woman veneers? You know, it's anthropology. There's only one reason we've been alive for 2 million years. It's because you have 3 drives in your reptilian cortex. You got to eat, drink, and screw. You were born, that's why you're always hungry, you're always thirsty, and you're always horny. Your only job was to make a little baby. And mom, that's why she will buy orthodontics on her baby 10,000 times for veneers on herself. And then every dentist will go to 100 veneer courses and not learn ortho. You go to mom and you say, well, you want veneers? She'll say, well, look at my 12-year-old daughter. She looks like she can get corn on the cob to a chain link fence. No one's going to screw my daughter. I'll never have a granddaughter. I want to give you $6,000 to fix up my daughter so someone will park her someday and make me a granddaughter. Now, that's not exactly word for word how she says it, but that's what her monkey brain is saying. I mean, they don't want her daughter to have to grow up and join a convent because no one would touch her. And then you're like, well, I don't know how to do orthodontics. I don't know how, but I went to the Spanky Institute and learned occlusion, and I want to do veneers on you. Or then you go to these other institutes that teach you how to do full mouth rehab on grandpa. You explain this whole full mouth rehab, and grandpa's looking at you like, dude, can you see the liver spot? It's the size of a quarter. You want me to spend $50,000? Who's going to look at my teeth? They're staring at the liver spot. When you're taking a shade on a man with a liver spot, it's just an A1. Screw it. You could put that thing in purple and he wouldn't even know it. And then it's like, okay. And then when you're done, you're like, it's $50,000. And grandma's like, well, we could take him to the vet and put him down for 50. So your best idea is 50 grand, and the vet's saying, I'll knock his ass out for 50 bucks. He'll just foam a little at the mouth for a minute or two, and he'll be all good. See, I mean, you gotta follow the trail. Mom spends 10 to 1 on boo-boo because she's a human. She's an animal. I mean, everyone knows. I mean, you never get in the middle between any animal and its baby. I mean, that you think, oh, it's just a donkey. Yeah, go pet its baby. You're going to find out that you're going to be killed by a jackass. I mean, that's just the way it works. So the bottom line, look at endo. Endo, they come in begging you. They go, God dang, I'm in pain. I've been up all night. I can't sleep. Can you do a root canal? And you go, well, I don't like endo. Okay, so our species, 100 billion humans have died since we became a species 2 million years ago. And you're saying, well, I don't like endo. Well, the last 2 million years, you think any of them sapiens didn't like their job? You think any of those sapiens said, I really don't like living in a cave eating mastodon shit? And so, well, I don't really care if you like living in a cave. It's freezing outside, and the only thing we have to eat is a bunch of dried mastodon poop. And you say, well, I ain't eating it. Well, then you wouldn't be here. A lot of people ate a lot of mastodon shit for millions of years so that you could just be alive here today, and then you tell me you don't like endo. You just like the fluffy stuff. Oh, yeah, I'm losing my ass, so you know how I'm going to save it? I'm going to learn sleep apnea. That's good. Why don't you learn crochet while you're at it? oh, I can't make any money on root canals, fillings, and crowns, so I'm going to learn sleep apnea and Invisalign. Does that even make sense to you? As you lose $3,800 a year, you learn endo. I don't give a shit if you like it or not. And I want to tell you this. I got into a lot of trouble. I actually recently got banned again from speaking in the great state of Ontario, province of Canada. So far, I've been banned to speak in Rhode Island, my own state of Missouri, and now I get to add Ontario. And because you know what I said that they didn't like? It was actually the truth. And the truth was this. I've been practicing 30 years. So I don't care what you say. Like this whole same-day dentistry shit. Okay, 30 years I've been practicing dentistry. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. A quarter of my 5-mile radius is Guadalupe, speaking Spanish as primary language. When I say you need a crown, they only have 2 questions. Oh my God, how much is that gonna cost? $1,000? You take my insurance, I don't get paid till Friday. It's just money. And the other half is fear. Oh my God, are you going to give me a shot? Is that going to hurt? Can you knock me out? Can you give me laughing gas? Can I have Vicodin or whatever the hell Prince took? And then what did you hear? Oh, I just want to have it on the same day. That's all I care about. I woke up this morning, I said, I don't care what I need as long as I can have it on the same day. I mean, you'd have to be on, the only way you could hear that is because I know the first thing you do when you hit your snooze alarm every morning, you're like, okay, dude, you need a crown. How much is it? Are you going to hurt me? Hey, don't worry. I can do it the same day. That's right, about a $150,000 machine. I got an assistant who's never made one before. This is going to come out nice. It's all going to work out. Just hang in there. So then I sat there and I said this. In my life, I have never pulled a wisdom tooth ever in my life where any sapien came back a week or a month later and said, you know what, I miss that tooth. I can't chew on that tooth. Never had it happen ever. For 30 years, I've been telling the working class poor, look, it's a second molar. You chew 1/6 on your second molar, 1/3 on your first molar, 1/3 on your second bicuspid, and 1/6 on your deal. If I pull, I can pull that tooth for $250. I can do a root canal and a crown for $2,500. I don't give a shit. I really don't, but I'll tell you this. If I pull that damn tooth, you ain't gonna miss it, because if I was you, you got $2,500 and put that in one tooth when you got 10 other cavities that need $250 filling each. I'd rather you throw that tooth in a dumpster and fix the other 10 so they don't end up in this shape. And every man says, cool, and they never miss it. And women say, well, I am a girl, and I'm just not gonna have a body part extracted. So here's $2,500. So I said on second molar, you always refer the second molars. And I said, that is the best practice tooth in the world. That's where you cut your teeth on a useless tooth no one needs. So you try your best to do that second molar. And halfway through it, you take a working length film and you got 3 files in the sinus and the bleeding won't stop. You just say, you know, I did my best, but this ain't really gonna work, and I'm just gonna pull this damn tooth, and you're not gonna miss it anyway, and we're all good. And that's the truth. I've had one person a decade miss a second molar that I extracted. And so I've done 3 single unit implants in the second molar with the crown on. I've done 3. I've done 1 per decade. I got my diploma in the International Congress of Implantology, my fellowship at the Mission Institute, back when all the x-rays were panos. By the way, everybody thinks that CBCT is the greatest thing that's ever invented in oral radiology. I'll call horse shit right now. You know, the greatest advance in all of oral radiology was on that pano update where somebody figured out how to put an R on one side and an L on the other. Holy shit, that was awesome. You could have a head injury and say, is that my right side? Hell yeah, Spanky. I mean the R and the L. So then you just do your own endo. And you sit there and you say, well, and then here's what the endo say. Well, you know, you should send it to me because I went to endo school and I did 25 molars in endo school. 25 molars. Really? That's endo school? And what happens to all the specialists? They're all in the 117 big metros where half of America live. And they're not in the 19,028 towns where the other half of America lives. And when you tell Frank that to save his tooth of the root canal, he's got to drive 2 hours to the big city, what does Grandpa say? No. So his health care is worse because you won't do endo. He's not going to drive. And you're afraid that a useless, unnecessary tooth will have to be extracted. So the bottom line, look what the endodontists are making, $375. Next is oral surgery. They're making $413. And what do you say? You don't like blood. I mean look what that attitude is costing you. Look at what that attitude is costing you. I mean, you don't like blood. You don't like, I love blood. Orthodontics. Here's what I don't understand about orthodontics. It's glue and it's rubber bands. Let me tell you about orthodontics. Are there any orthodontists in the room? Because this is really going to hurt. So here's your options. You could go learn from Richard Litt, we learned from Richard Litt. He's the only board-certified orthodontist in America. Him and Harry Green out of Phoenix are the only two board-certified orthodontists who teach us low-life scumbug general dentist. Just two. And me and Steve, we've taken all that. We've done all that stuff for 30 years. But if you had to pick between that or hiring an orthodontist assistant who worked 10 years in an orthodontist office, and you have the first 2 rooms are hygiene, and you're going to give her room 3, and that's going to be the ortho room, who do you think would be better at ortho? You after your 2 ortho classes? Or having a dental assistant who was an orthodontic assistant for 10 years, and when you go doing the ortho checks, they blindfold you, and they put on headphones, and you're jamming out to Prince. I mean, that's what I did. When I first started, I hired me an orthodontic assistant who'd been there for 10 years. I took her with me to the courses. It took her years to teach me ortho. Because it's so small. I mean, those cases take 2 years. You do a filling in 20 minutes. You do a root canal and ortho. I mean, orthodontics is like, it's like, I mean, it's 2 years to even see what this shit happened. I mean, really. So the bottom line is ortho's big. Pediatric dentistry. Now, I admit, I'm a little bitch when it comes to pediatric dentistry. And that's why I'm a good man, because I think if I did go to hell, I would be put in charge of pedo for eternity. It'd just be me and Hitler and Pol Pot and Idi Amin doing chrome steel crowns for eternity in hell. And so the bottom line is, and perio. Perio is an interesting disease. I mean, so everybody keeps telling you that perio's dead because you just fix that tooth with forceps and treat it with titanium. And I can't tell you that's how much propaganda there is in dentistry. So when they do those implant studies, they do them all on the anterior bone, which is like oak wood. They never do them in the mandibular posterior, which is like balsa wood. And then the whole maxilla is just like a warm styrofoam cow patty of soft shit. And you pull these teeth and you replace them with implants, and everybody tells you, well, the implant failure in the United States is somewhere between 4 and 4.5%. Hey, asshole, it's more like 20. It's more like 20. And I mean, it's crazy. By the way, I'm loving insurance data. Like when you do a molar endo, in 60 months, we're not talking about judgmental stuff. Did it fail? Did the periapulation go away? Blah, 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 blah. We're talking about, was the tooth extracted? When a general dentist does a molar, in 60 months, 10% are extracted. When an endodontist does a molar, 5% are extracted. So 1 out of every 20 molars done by an endodontist fails in 5 years, and yours is 1 in 10. So the real question is, why do 1 in 10 fail for you, and why does 1 in 5 fail for the endodontist? So why do root canals fail? Because you still don't realize that when you find all the canals and you get to the bottom and you file it all out, when you go to fill and it looks beautiful on x-ray, everything you see is about 50% of the root canal. So the only reason you're finding all the canals, cleaning and shaping to the end, is so that you can get bleach in there. And the bleach is the only thing that does the root canal. If it kills all the bugs, you could fill it with horse shit. I'm talking about sterile, autoclaved horse shit. Not fresh horse shit right out of a horse's ass. You want to get some, put it in the autoclave, mix it with some warm water or whatever. But you always talk about, well, what sealer to use? Who gives a shit? I mean, if you had a basement and it was filled with crocodiles and you killed half the crocodiles, guess what happens when you leave? They're going to eat, drink, mate, and have baby crocodiles. And someday there's going to be a shitload of crocodiles down there again. And you say, but I killed half of them. Well, the other half could still eat and screw. You don't leave bleach down there long enough. And that's when, you want to double your success and know when you're all done, ready to fill that up with bleach and just let it keep soaking. Have your assistant in there scrubbing it or whatever the hell. Go do a filling. Go do a hygiene check. Go do something, but let that bleach work. And until that bleach has been sitting in those canals for like 5 minutes, and it's still just crystal clear. Every time you go back in there, you leave it there for a minute, and it turns all milky, and it's all filled with dead crap again, and then you just dry and fill. Let it keep working. It's all about the bugs. And that's a good segue into perio, because perio is still the craziest part of dentistry. The craziest part of dentistry is this. I go in your office. Where are the hygienists in here? So two? Come on, raise it high. Gay people came out of the closet. Why are you like, no? Yeah. Well, I haven't told my dad yet. So here's what you still see in hygiene. You still see, they see the mom every 3 months for perio for like 5 years. And I go, is she married? Yeah, to grandpa. Does she sleep with him? I guess. Well, where's grandpa? I've never seen him. Well, hey, hygienist, what if you were treating her every 3 months for chlamydia? And every 3 months she came in, you gave her another shot of PenVK. I mean, after 5 years, would you say, hey, grandma, are you banging someone with chlamydia? I mean, it's so weird. I mean, and we're in this stage where no one wants, we're so into drill, fill, and build, no one will talk about the real thing. Like, do you realize that when archaeologists dig up Homo sapiens, they can find Homo sapiens back to almost the beginning? I mean, we got sapiens that are 1.8 million years old. There's no malocclusions, 400 years to zero. There's almost no malocclusions 150 years ago to zero. And now, almost every kid has a malocclusion. Why? Because when they were nursing for a couple of years, and then the kid's pulling on it, and the boob's in his face, and there's all this pressure. When mom fed it something, it was like a bone with some meat on it, berries, and there were all these forces and pressures, and spreading the bone in the face, and everything was fine. Now, the first time the baby pulls twice, I think she's using effort, force. So you switch her to a sippy cup. Now milk just free volumes in her mouth. You use some baby bottle with a nipple the size of a nipple on an elephant. And then you feed it jars of pureed applesauce shit. The baby's never used any of its muscles. There's never been any force. And then he shows up in your office, 12 years old. He doesn't even have room for any of his teeth. He's got a V arch, a high palate, all this shit. And you immediately go into extractions, ortho, rapid palate expanders, and nobody gets on TV and says, when your fat-ass baby can't nurse anymore, well, eventually it'll get so hungry, it'll figure out how to nurse some more. I mean, do you really think, yeah, my baby died. What happened? Well, she got tired of nursing. She just starved to death right there on the couch. And when you're feeding your daughter applesauce shit out of a jar, don't you tell people, then why would you need teeth? I mean, if that worked, we wouldn't have any teeth. Nobody's talking about the only reason babies need ortho is because they never use any of their muscles of mastication ever. And by the time it's all formed, it's all malocclusion. Babies need to fight that boob. They need to fight that meat on a dead mastodon or an elk or whatever. In fact, when you see roadkill on the way home, you should pick it up and take it home to your baby. So, and then perio is the same thing. I mean, what's weird with disease is if it's below the belt, everyone focuses on it. Because the species eats, drinks, reproduces, have offspring. So like when AIDS came out, everybody on the planet figured it out. They all learned, hey, you can trade diseases below the belt. And then they all decide they're all going to have condoms. They put on their little party hat. And then they go stick their tongue in some stranger's mouth. And when we were little, they told us that, oh, oral cancer, oh yeah, it's all from smoking and drinking. Because that's religious judgmental stuff. Religious people love to judge. They love to just like go walk by McDonald's to see you eating in there and say, oh, I caught you. I'm better than you. You were eating at McDonald's, you evil monkey. They're very judgmental. And then we sit there and in the mouth, we don't realize that these babies are born with zero disease in the mouth. They're born without HPV. And that HPV causing the oral cancer is causing the uterine cancer, the cervical cancer. I mean, you're one body, one virus. And then you're sitting there, you're never born with Streptococcus mutans. But then you hand the baby to grandma and she kisses it on the mouth. And this baby would have never, ever had to brush its teeth and get a cavity. It would have never had P. gingivalis and got gum disease. It would have never had HPV and got oral cancer. It never would have had a canker sore. It would have never had a dozen diseases. And then you hand it to your mother, who you know is wearing a flipper. And then she kisses it on the mouth. And it doesn't even ring a bell with you. I mean, you know how much you grow your practice when the hygienist comes in and says, Mary, when's the last time your husband was in the dentist? 5 years. Okay, so this is what's happening. Every time you come in, I clean out all your mouth from gonorrhea, syphilis, and periodontal disease. And then you go home and you lick on grandpa. You need to divorce him. We need to take him to the vet and put him down. I watch those crime shows on TV. Where's the number one place to get rid of the body where they'll never find it? Oh, you know. What is it? If you throw a body away in the dumpster, it's almost never found. Even when you tell them when you threw the body away. If you throw them into the lake, they'll float to the top. You bury them in the ground, there'll be erosion. You throw them in the dumpster, there's a million smells, all this trash. They never find the body on those crime shows if you threw it in the dumpster and it went to the public landfill. But I can't have you kissing grandpa and beat this gum disease. It would be no difference if he had gonorrhea or syphilis or chlamydia or all those things I got the first semester at Creighton. Well, I mean, it was a Catholic school, so you know those girls were ready. And they were like living at home under an oppressed father for all those years. They're like, I'm at Creighton now. But the bottom line is we're not even there yet. We don't talk to pregnant mothers. Now, you know when that baby was born, you wouldn't let anybody have sex with it. And if it did, it'd get AIDS and gonorrhea and herpes and chlamydia. It'd be horrible. So why would you let anybody kiss on it? If you never kiss your baby, it will never need a dentist. It can't get a cavity. It cannot get a cavity unless there's an infection in the biofilm. I mean, imagine like in the backyard. If you walked into the backyard, and let's say you didn't, because they always say, well, if you don't brush and clean, you'll get gum disease. Well, really? So if I didn't clean my closet for a year, someday there'll be like 10 giraffes living in there? I mean, do you think giraffes are made from not cleaning your closet? Well, if you don't brush and clean your closet, giraffes and monkeys and lions and tigers will all appear. It'll be the lion kingdom in your backyard. I'm pretty sure that's not how it works. I mean, you have to get an infection. And that bacteria, that P. gingivalis, that Streptococcus mutans, do you realize it came from adults who came from grandparents or great-grandparents, and that living stream has been going about 3.5 billion years? And if anybody interrupts that stream, it's over. I mean, that bacteria came from some sapien. And it's almost, and I hate to say this because it sounds sexist, but when they do the DNA testing, it almost always comes from the mother. It's like 95% of all those pathogens come from the mother. Here's how mother feeds her baby. Okay, I'm gonna take your applesauce shit and mic it. Okay, now the sauce is too hot, so I'm gonna stick my spoon in it, and then I'm gonna blow on it. I'm gonna blow. There's some strep. There's some more streptococcus. Let me taste it to get some HPV on it. Okay, you should have everything. You should have strep, hepatitis, fecal matter. I mean, you got it all. Here, baby. That's what you do to your babies. Imagine what you do to your husband. So there's the prices right there. So there's a typical dental office. There's a dental office making 10% on this one, barely losing, getting their ass handed to them on a deal over here. They have no idea they're making 10% on this plan and losing 8% on that plan. Dentistry for nothing, and your chicks are free. And some of these are your biggest plans. Like, look at this. This might be Blue Cross Blue Shield, and they're losing 32% on a plan. And then you go into the practice, and it's 20% of their charts. So 20% of their patients, they're losing 32% of their net income, and they never have any idea. I mean, they don't have remote idea. They're clueless. So then you can take courses on renegotiating PPOs. I just say you just find out, you know, the deal on the PPOs, I just want you to know how much you're making. By the way, give it up for Tom Jacoby, the editor of Dental Town. I can't believe Tom started working for us in 2000, and it's 2017. Unbelievable. Tom and I are the same age, so guess who did more drugs? Yeah, and but the bottom line is I don't really care about the PPO negotiations because here's what I know. I just want you to know the price. You're not dumb. I mean, I went to school with you guys. I mean, dentists are smart. They learn calculus and algebra and trig and physics, and applied physics is chemistry, and applied chemistry is biology, and applied biology is dentistry. You ain't dumb. You a lot of things, but you ain't dumb. You just don't see the math on your overhead because it's not connected to QuickBooks Online. So you just have no idea what you're doing. And then here's why the government's not worried. Because in 2000, the average American had to wait 10 days to get in the office. By 2012, it got all the way down to 4.5. And now it's creeping back up to 5. I mean, America, you can get a hooker and a pizza delivered in 30 minutes. You know, in America, you can have anything but a cleaning. If I walked out in that casino at 3 o'clock in the morning and said, I'd like a hooker, some heroin, and an 8-ball of Coke, they'd say, okay, great. We'll have it here in a minute. 3 minutes. Then I walk back out there with $1 million cash in a briefcase, say, I want to get my teeth cleaned right now. Oh, dude, I can get you an AK-47. I could get you uranium and a silencer. I get you a blonde, a redhead, and a brunette to jump out of a cake naked. No, I just want a cleaning. Shit, dude, I'm sorry, I can't help you. I don't even know how you would start. You know, when you're in Phoenix, and a lot of it's culture, and we're not allowed to talk about culture because it's racist and all this bullshit. So let's just start with racism. In Phoenix, all the Chinese will deliver me food to my home. All the Italians who own pizza places will deliver their pizza to my house. Call any Mexican restaurant. Oh, yeah, can you deliver? No, we don't deliver. And then you go to the physicians, the MDs. They come out of school. They say, okay, our hospitals are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You're going to work Monday and Thursday. You're going to come in at 7, do a 24-hour shift. You come in Thursday, do a 24-hour shift. And they're like, cool. So you'll work 2 days, Monday, Thursday, 48 hours a week, and we're going to pay you $140,000 a year. Okay. Then you hire a dentist. On Thursdays, instead of going at home at 5, we want you to stay till 7. What? Stay till 7? You think I went to 8 years of college and worked till 7? It's like on Sunday in Phoenix, Arizona, you'd be lucky if you broke your leg because they take you to a hospital fully staffed. Break your tooth, take you to a hospital, 8% of emergency room visits in the United States are dental related. We can fix your broken leg. We can pull a cancerous ping pong ball out of your ass. We can rewire your heart. We can pull a grapefruit tumor out of your brain. But a tooth, I mean, come on. How could we fix a tooth? It's not even part of the body. I mean, how weird is that? 8% of emergency room visits are odontogenic in origin, and a physician doesn't know what to do. Could you imagine what would happen at Walmart if 8% of the customers come in and said, we want this? What would Walmart sell? Then they say, we need to find a shitload of this. Here's healthcare. Yeah, 8% of our customers want this in the emergency room. Yeah, but we don't sell that. We're doctors. We don't give a shit what our patients need. And you can't even call them customers. You have to call them patients because you want them to be patient with your bullshit. It's true. You say, well, I don't like to sell dentistry. Yeah, I'd say that too when you realize you had a 38% treatment plan acceptance. You know what's the weirdest thing about dentistry? The insurance data shows that every time you diagnose 100 cavities, you drill, fill, and bill 38. So you drill 1, and you don't drill 2 out of 3. And then you go to all these courses, like you have to see Gordon Christensen every year, and the whole morning, Gordon Christensen talks about all the wear rates. Like Haley Mueller wears at 14 microns a year. Tetrick Saraham wears at 17 microns a year. And you learn all the wear rates, as if your problem was all the fillings wore down. And then you come back in the afternoon, he talks about all the bonding rates. Like the bonding rate of helium molar is 18 megapascals. Panavia 21 is 27.9 megapascals. And you get like a pudge in your pants at anything over 25. You're like, oh my God, 27? I'm aroused. And it's like, really? That's your problem? All your fillings wear down and then they all fall out? So if you could just get the filling that doesn't wear down or fall out, that's all. Dude, you don't remove the decay 2 out of 3 times. Do you realize dentistry would be better if we outlawed all composites and all we did is removed all the decay and packed them with butter? That would be immensely better. Then she could go home and French kiss her husband in an F-150 pickup truck and not transmit disease. So everything we focus on doesn't matter, but the government's looking at this saying, look, it takes an American 5 days to get into the doctor. So we're gonna keep building dental schools. They're building dental schools because you're closed Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. They're leaving messages on answering machines. You got 6,000 graduates that want a job. And there's 168 hours in a week. And you leave Thursday at 5, and you come back Monday at 8. And when someone calls, you're just like, thank you for calling my dental office. Go fuck yourself till Monday. And they're like, so they go to the emergency room. The emergency room says, sorry, we're doctors. We only remove brain tumors and cancer and fix broken legs. We have no idea what to do with the molar. So they just keep building schools. And then you could hire an associate to come in your office. By the way, all they need is one employee, a girl that can answer the phone and be your assistant. You didn't have an assistant dental school. And they could work 12 hours on Friday, 12 hours on Saturday, 12 hours on Sunday. Hell, if they did one toothache, a root canal bottom crown for $2,500 on that 3-day shift, you're already paid for yourself. I mean, it's a no-brainer, but you don't give a shit. You're like, well, why would I give a shit? It's not my toothache. We're closed for the day. Imagine if all the hospitals closed down Thursday at 5 and opened up Monday morning at 8. Could you imagine that? But the bottom line is, these 4 boys went to the emergency room so many times that we would walk in there, they would know we were the Farran family. I mean, really, we go in there and they go, oh, hi, Dr. Farran, how are you? Who did what? I mean, it was a trampoline. Who knows what it was? It's crazy. Could you imagine if the physicians, if the hospitals closed Thursday at 5, had the same hours as the dentist, and opened back up Monday at 8? We wouldn't even be talking about Obamacare. We'd be talking about shoot all the physicians. I mean, it'd be crazy. That's what you do. And then you tell me that it's always someone else's fault. Here's another thing we got to transfer from. You're the only people still talking about new customers. Nobody talks about trying to get new patients. You sit there and talk, well, we spend 3% on new patients. We like to get like 30 new patients a month. You know, every major league business on the Fortune 500 company, they assume every American at least one time has gone to Walmart, Amazon Prime, shopped at Costco, flown United, or used a Chase Visa card. Nobody wants a new customer. They've already had every American one time. Raise your hand in this room if you've never been to Amazon. You've never been to Amazon. I mean, everybody's been there once. So they spend all their money on loyalty programs, keeping customers for life. When I got out of school, advertising was taboo. Within 10 years out of school, it was like mandatory 3% of collection goes to advertising. Now most of the gurus are saying 5 to 7% on advertising. So here's the math on that. Acquiring one new customer costs the same as retaining 5. Just a 5% increase in retention rate is an increase in 95% increase in profits. But here's the deal. If a hygienist works 50 weeks a year, 40 hours a week. Let's say a hygienist works 40 hours a week. We've never seen a hygienist work 40 hours a week. You're a hygienist? How many hours a week do you work? 36. Wow. 32, really. You're just saying 36 for bullshit, right? It's 32. I mean, it'd be like getting ran over by a unicorn. No, I did. One time I saw a hygienist that works 40 hours a week riding a unicorn who ran into the tooth fairy and then left me a note. But let's say, do you really work 40 hours a week? You work 6 days a week for Steve? No. Because I'll move you to Phoenix. I'll pay all moving costs. Do you want to move to Phoenix? We'll do a signing bonus today after the seminar. We're doing the signing bonus right now, Steve. So the bottom line is this. Let's say a hygienist works 40 hours a week for 50 weeks. That's 2,000 hours because I get my teeth cleaned twice a year for an hour. A hygienist could see 1,000 people twice a year. So the average dentist gets 25 new patients a month. Well, that means every 2.5 years, you'd add another hygienist. So that means 10 years of 25 new patients a month, you'd have 4 full-time hygienists. At the end of 20 years, you have 8. At the end of 30 years, you'd have 12. At the end of 40 years, you have 16. You go to every 65-year-old dentist in America, and he's in like Parsons, Kansas with 30,000. Say, how many hygienists do you have? 1. Dude, what do you need? Well, I'd like to learn how to get new patients. Dude, you've seen everybody in Parsons, Kansas twice. I know, and no one will ever come back, so I think I'm going to build a Facebook ad. What do you think of Facebook? Well, I guess it's a lot easier to make a Facebook ad than to find out why you're an asshole. So let's say you've had 4 wives, none of your patients ever came back, and the longest any staff member stayed with you is 2 years. So you're going to fix this with Facebook, right? Oh, no. Pinterest. Yeah, you're going to pin your way to success. Just a few more pins, and people will come back to you. Why would you stop and ask why at 10 new patients a month, you need a hygienist every 8.3 years, 20 every 4 years, 30 every 2.75 years, 40 new patients a month every 2 years, 50 new patients a month every 1.7 years. There's your hygiene capacity. Now, once your hygienist is booked up a day in advance, once your receptionist says, well, I can't clean your teeth today, but I can clean your teeth tomorrow. Once she says that one freaking time, you're maxed capacity. So every time you pour coffee into that cup, new fresh coffee, what happens to the old coffee? It just spills over. You've been pouring new patients into a cup of coffee for 40 years. And there's one question you can't say. I mean, if you call up your drug dealer and say, can I give you money today? He says, bitch, I'll be straight over. You go to Walmart. Can I buy something now? Hell yeah. You call the dental office. Can I give you money today for a cleaning? No. No. We're the only place you can call on the internet that says no to more money. Yeah, I'm sorry. I can't take your money today. And I'll say, well, you got one hygienist. Why don't you get two? Well, I live in fear. And I'm afraid if I got a second hygienist, maybe she'd have an opening. I mean, I'd only get another hygienist if I could go back to, I'm sorry, I can't clean your teeth today because now I got 2 bitches filled. I can only add another hygienist if I can keep saying, no, I can't take your money. So since you don't increase any capacity, you always will need new patients because you're always telling people no. You go in the hygiene room. Yeah, I got 2 cavities. Can you do that today? No. No. I know there's 6,000 dentists that just graduated dental school and they all want a job for like $12 an hour. But I thought it'd be best to tell you, no, you can't have it done today. We close Thursday at 5. We won't open up till Monday at 5 because it's all about me. Remember, it's not about you, the patient. It's all about all this. Do you see this? It's not about you and your cavities. It's about all this. And all this doesn't have time to do your cavities today. And we can't clean your teeth today. We're the only place in the whole food chain that says, no, we can't take your money today. And I said, well, I feel safe when I'm booked out 2 weeks in advance. If I had an opening tomorrow, I'd feel scared. Oh, so you'd rather be booked out 2 weeks in advance than to have like $300,000 in your checking account? Yeah, I don't want to have any cash in my checking account. I'd rather be servicing a bunch of debt, a bunch of leases, and be booked out a month in advance. That's what makes me feel better. Most people, when they want to feel better, they just take a shot of Grey Goose. You have to go buy a $100,000 shiny object, laser, CAD cam, C4D, whatever the shit, and be booked out a month in advance. So he said, here's another thing Dentistry does wrong. You always think the money's with the rich people. Why are people rich? Rich people don't part with their money. A fool and their money will soon be parted. You give the poorest 43 million people, you gave them $1 million lottery jackpot winning, they'd be Chapter 7 bankrupt in a year. Half of the NFL declares bankruptcy 4 years out because a fool and money never said yeah. So you present all this shit to Mrs. Jones who's rich. Well, why is she rich? Because she doesn't give her money away to anybody. She keeps it. And so you learn all of this implants. You learn all this all on 4-7 bullshit. Okay? So let me tell you about Clear Choice. Clear Choice does a $25,000 arch of all on 4 implants. And you know how many they did last year? 18,000 arches. In a population of 323 million Americans, 17,000 isn't a rounding error. It's not a rounding error at 2 decimal places. Where do you think the money is? 1 implant in the symphysis, so a poor grandma could snap her denture onto an O-ring? Would you rather own Nordstrom's or Walmart? Would you rather own Ruth's Chris or Taco Bell? Taco Bell, not dentist. I'll tell you, 96% of all crowns are done on the first molars. Almost all endos done on the first molar. Almost all implants done on the first molar. And then when you go take a course, you go take a course on full mouth reconstruction. I bet you this is, what is this, April 21st? 21st? And what, 90% of this room hasn't done a full mouth construction this year? 9 out of 10. Raise your hand if you have not done a full mouth reconstruction in the first 4 months of the year. Raise your hand. Come on, raise your hand. Quit being a lion full. Come on, you're not even a dentist. Raise your hand. If you did a full mouth reconstruction, I'm calling the police. So you go learn all on 4. And then I say, well, do you do mini implants? Well, I don't believe in mini implants. What do you mean you don't believe in mini implants? Really, you don't believe in them? What if I shoved one up your ass? Then when you say, well, I don't believe in them, but I feel something up my ass. Yeah, we'll start believing. And you put 2 down here. This is why I love lecturing around the world. The Australians just put up 1. The Australians, and if you talk to a mechanical engineer, they'd say, well, if you set up 2, you got this fulcrum bar thing. That's tough. You put 1 up the middle, that's an easy play. But the bottom line is you just don't think there's any money in poor people. Poor people spend more money at Taco Bell and McDonald's than Ruth's Chris and all these food chains. So you sit there and you say that, well, people don't get dentistry because of cost. 40% that's true, but 33% they don't know they need it. And that's where probably the best booth out there is the DigiDoc booth. I mean, they got a $5,000 camera it's crazy. You know, how many times you've been to a party where someone says, what is your name? You tell them, I'm Howard. And then before they leave, they go, I'm sorry, what was your name again? Because see, a monkey remembers with its eyes. I remember it was you, but my ear ain't hooked up to my brain. I didn't hear the sound, Howard, Eugene, Farran, the second, DDS, MAGD, who gives a GD? I don't remember shit through my ears. And then you have a 1/3 treatment plan acceptance. So here's what I want you to focus on with the DigiDoc. And I don't get any money from these guys. I don't even think they advertise. I don't know. I mean, I don't know or give a shit. I'm so busy pissing off my biggest advertisers. I don't have time to even see who my small ones are. And so here's the deal with DigiDoc. So here's what's doable. The average American, for every 100 million cavities diagnosed, you drill film bill 38%. So you're doing 1/3. So 1/3 come in and they see the hole, they want it done. 1/3 will never get it done. But the middle guy in the middle, he can be sold if you learn how to sell. But you say you don't like to sell. And that's doable. How many times have you seen 2 offices in the same building? They have the same number of charts, same number of chairs, same everything. One dentist has a 38% treatment plan acceptance rate and is doing $750,000, taking home $145. And the guy next door has a 68% treatment plan acceptance, has a $1.5 million practice, and is taking home $350. That ain't have nothing to do with the bonding agent, has nothing to do with the implant, has nothing to do with anything other than they're better at selling. How do you sell to a monkey? Visually. And it doesn't have to be you. It doesn't have to be you. I mean, it could be your assistant. It could be your hygienist. And you say all this weird shit like, well, I don't let my hygienist diagnose. Why? Well, it's illegal in Texas. Well, I mean, I just say, okay, well, then let's stop now. I want to go visit all the hygienists in prison today from diagnosing dentistry. And then you say, well, there's no hygienist in jail. Really? Well, right now in Dallas, someone's driving down the street with a pound of cocaine in his trunk, and you won't let your hygienist diagnose x-rays. Do you see a problem with that? I mean that is just, so so the bottom line is no one's ever gone to jail for reading a damn x-ray. And I'll tell you why dentists never go to jail. Because you show up in the morning, it's like everybody tells me, my advertising is illegal. Because when you come in, I sign you a card, and if you give it to a friend and they come in, they get a $25 Visa card. You get a $25 Visa card. And in my office, whoever signed it gets a $20 Visa card. So that cost me $75 for a new head of Sapien in my office, okay? And everybody tells me that's illegal. Okay, so now you're the Attorney General of Arizona. You get to work on Monday. You only got 9 lawyers working for you. You only got 9 detectives and lawyers working for you. We found a dead body in a dumpster. Mrs. Jones was shot in the head. Someone robbed a Circle K. And we found a dentist giving a $25 coupon for anyone referred to his office. Yeah, well, screw the bitch in the dumpster. We're going to get to the bottom of this coupon. I mean, you've got to be kidding me. Take a risk. Take a risk. I mean, my God. Demographics matters. Here's another thing that does. So here's downtown San Francisco. There's 450 Sutter Street in San Fran, 162 dental offices in there. What's amazing, if you stand there at that building long enough, you'll see a dentist jump out the window. Yeah. And you say demographics don't matter. Well, if demographics don't matter, what I want you to do is sell your office and move to Afghanistan. And then after that doesn't work out, I want you to move to the Congo, maybe Yemen. Because real estate, you'll have low overhead Yemen because all the buildings have been blown up. Syria has rock bottom prices on commercial real estate right now. You can rent rubble for almost $1 a square foot. Really, demographics don't matter? Here's what I see in the field. And I've been doing this for 3 decades. Everybody that takes 2 hours to drive to an airport, they're all taking no PPOs. They're all doing $1 million of dentistry at your fee for schedule, and they're taking home $350. I ask you, what is your number one overhead? You know what you say to me? Well, it's labor. It's 28%. No, it's not. It's adjusted production at 42%. You tell everybody your crown is 1,000. You sign up for 18 PPOs where you're doing a crown at 600. Your number one overhead is adjusting that crown from 1,000 to 600. 42% adjusted production is the number one overhead in America. Now number 2 is labor at 28% because you give your monkeys $1 raise every time the earth goes around the sun. Your staff always comes up to you once a year and says, look, Doc, the earth just passed Uranus. Time for a raise. Whenever the earth passes Uranus, we get a raise. And you're like, okay, well, to pay for this, let's sign up for Medicaid. So you can't make this up, can you? So the bottom line is, so here's what you do. So there's very few people. Real Score does one. Who's the guy in Utah that does dental demographics? What is it? Scott McDonald. I just did a podcast on him. We're releasing that real quick. So here's what happens when we do demographics on you. Most dentists wake up in the morning at their house, and they're living where there's a dentist for every 2,000 people. Then they commute an hour into town, and when they get out of their car, now they're down to a dentist for every 500 people. Most dentists, when they woke up in the morning, it would be better to have a dental office in their freaking garage or commute an hour out of town. But see, it's counterintuitive to you because it doesn't make sense. I go show you a town, it's got like 1,280 people with no dentist. Well, the 1,280 people, the draw is minimum times 2, sometimes times 3. So now there's 2,400 people that don't have a dentist. So there's no PPOs, there's none of that shit. And then you go to those small towns. You go down, you know, Delta Dental in Iowa has a list of 12 cities where if you go to that city, the state of Iowa gives you a check for $100,000, and Delta Dental matches $100,000. Then the mayor walks you downtown, and half the buildings are boarded up on Main Street. And they say, you want a building? You pick that building, they give you some 6,000 square foot brick building. So now you got 100,000 from the government, 100,000 from Delta, a free damn building. And what do you think a kick-ass job is in a town of 2,000 in the middle of Bumblebutt, Iowa, where you married your first cousin? What do you think a good job is? $8 an hour? 10? 10 is bank. And then they sign up for no PPOs, and they're booked out of the gate. They do $1 million and take home $350 in cash on a 4-day work week. And then you know what they do on Thursday night? They get in their plane, their Porsche, their Mercedes, Winnebago, whatever the shit, and they have a bitchin' hot condo in Cedar Rapids. Are you thinking about killing yourself now? I mean, the bottom line is It's supply and demand, dude. You got to create a supply where they demand it. And you got 5 dental schools in California, and here's your best idea. I want to get out of school and open a dental office where you could see the ocean. Oh my God, that's my best idea. I'm like, what was your next best idea? I mean, if that's your best idea, I want to know your next best. In 1900, there were no specialties. And healthcare was 1% of the GDP. I want you to think about this. 1900, United States of America, the greatest country ever. Healthcare, 1%. By the end of the century, healthcare is 14%. The physicians have 58 specialties, and the dentists have 9. Now it's 2017. Healthcare is 17% of GDP. It just passed $3 trillion. And the reason is why. Everybody's concerned about the rise of healthcare costs. And it's only rising for one reason. The ultimate wealth is health. When rich people get rich, they want to live one day longer. So the economists came out with this one little plan. So here's your option. What's your name? Dahlia. What is it? Dahlia. Dahlia? And where are you from? San Antonio. San Antonio? Do you know Steve Hayes? So, no, you're in Austin, right? Yeah, he's got the best shit. And so here's your choice. You either die tonight or you buy this little pill from me and you die 1 year from tonight. So how much would you give me for this pill? You want to live longer. So I assume you're not married, you have no children. Are you single with no kids? You have kids and you're married and you still want to live. God, that is so, you're an inspiration to so many. So how much would you give me? So how old are your kids? Okay, the 5-year-old. Let's key in on the 5-year-old. How much would you give me to keep the 5-year-old from dying? You give me anything. Would you give me your house? Nobody says in government we spend too much money on houses. Would you give me your car? Nobody in government says we spend too much money at GM, Chrysler, and Ford, and Tesla. Would you give me your iPhone? Nobody says we sell too many Apple products and iPhones and Samsungs. But then when you say, I'll give me all I've got to save my baby, the government says, well, you know, we just spend too much money on health care. See, you cannot get in between a mama and her baby. And the Mayo brothers figured this out, and dentistry hasn't figured out. The Mayo brothers figured out that there were all these multi-millionaire ranchers and farmers in Minnesota. And when you said, mom's going to die of cancer and she's dead, that grandpa said, I'll sell the damn wheat farm, the tractors, I'll sell frickin' everything if you can keep my 80-year-old wife alive another year. And the Mayo brothers said, do you see this shit? They'll sell their John Deere tractor to keep grandma alive one more year. See, healthcare is way ahead of DSOs and dentistry. Healthcare, it's like, we're Mayo Clinic. Oh, we're Houston. We're Cleveland Clinic. Oh, we're the Sloan Kettering Center. We're all about quality. All the dental DSOs. Oh, we're cheaper. We're faster. We're a coupon. We're 24 hours. We have a drive-through hygienist. It's all about low-cost shit. We're cheaper, cheaper, cheaper. The physicians are like, we know you'll sell your iPhone and your car. You got 2 kids, but I saw on Facebook last week, you're ready to sell 2 of them. Totally. And I checked on eBay, they were both listed. I saw pictures of them both. But the bottom line is these people will spend anything to keep their teeth. They'll do anything. And I'll go back to you. Are you married? How much money would I have to give you cash to pull number 8, your front tooth, and you never replace it the rest of your life? You just tell everyone you're from Austin. It's not, come on, $1 million.
No, but I'm not going to walk around.
You better call your husband. He might talk some sense to you. He might say, Dahlia, pull it. We'll get an F-150 pickup truck and we'll pull a boat to the lake. I'll say that Dahlia, she's missed her front tooth, but the bitch has got money. I mean, I'm telling you. This is valuable stuff. And you know what the government doesn't want to hear? The government doesn't want to hear that in about 25 years, in about 50 years, healthcare is not going to be 17%. It's going to be a quarter. And in 500 years, when you have all the joys and you inherit everything from your grandmother and you got a free house and car and everything lasts forever, and then you wake up in the morning to have your cup of coffee and your eyeball falls out and rolls across the floor, you're going to sell everything you freaking inherited to go to the doctor and say, can you put my eyeball back in? And then your ear quits working. And then you're going to give all your money to get your sound back. Last year, his thing stopped working. He had to sell his practice. He now works at Aspen just so he could get his ding dong to work again. See, the only wealth is health. It's the only thing. And look at the specialties that popped up. When I got out of dental school, there were no accounting specialties. Now these guys have 8,000 clients. 6,000. These guys have 2,000. I think the best one is Kane Waters in Dallas. And all these institutes do is they just want you to know your costs. And your accountant, you just send him all your stuff, and all he makes you is a statement of income, a P&L. And that's only for the IRS. That's only for tax collection. They don't give you a statement of cash flow. They don't give you a balance sheet. They don't go over your numbers. And you know what the top 3 causes of divorce are? Money, sex, substance abuse. And money and sex, especially if you're paying money for sex. You mix those two, that's a double whammy. But you know how many dentists are stressed out about money? Because they come home and they tell their wife, oh my God, I did 5 crowns a day. How much you get for a crown? 1,000. She didn't know those were all adjusted at 600 and all your overhead. Kane Waters, those guys won't even do your accounting unless you and your spouse come down every year for 2 days, and they're not going to let you out and keep you as a client until you can answer all the accounting questions. What is your overhead? You got to know your math. And so many wives, especially young couples, God, honey, I couldn't believe it, because you come home and say you did 4 crowns, and then I'd hint at the mall on Saturday, hey, can I get me a Louis Vuitton? It's only 4 grand. It's only 1 day's worth of crowns. And you'd say, yeah, right, I don't have a dime. She's getting all these mixed messages. And now there's a lot of women who now the woman is the doctor. And now the husband is the home toy boy. I have so many men dentists that come up to me and saying, well, my wife is a dentist, and I feel emancipated because she makes more money than me. And I say, just don't think about it while you're vacuuming. So the bottom line is know your math, know your accounting. Tom, I'm out of time. Come on up here, Tom. Kick me out. But here's 4 dentists making $25,000 a month. 40% overhead. This guy's drill, fill, and billing, $41,000. This guy's do $50. This guy's do $71. This guy's do $125. Come on, know your math. Join an accounting firm. Try to be the dentist making $25,000 at 50% overhead. The average is 65% overhead. But right now, 20% of dentists have 80% overhead. But Tom, I want to tell you, seriously, this guy's been the editor of Dental Town magazine for 20 years. Do we look like twins raised apart at birth? He tells me I'm inappropriate, and I tell him I don't even own a tie. But seriously, thanks for coming to Townie Meeting. Love you much. Thank you so much.